Thank you, Senator Brown. Senator Rice.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to ask a few questions about the Department's implementation of the Australian Government's recognition of sex and guidelines on the recognition of sex and gender, which were meant to have been implemented by July 2016. And so wanting to know what steps your department has taken to implement these guidelines.
Thank you, Senator. So the department's taken a range of actions in preparation for the commencement in 2016. They included ensuring we had processes and systems appropriate to be able to comply with the guidance in terms of collecting sex and or gender information, as well as details around our forms and then the ability and use of that information. Right.
So do you feel you're fully compliant with the guidelines now?
Yeah, our system, HR systems enable that, and when people are recruiting in, they have the option to specify under the guidelines.
Yes, and...
Sorry, what?
Senator, they specify whether they wish to, the type of gender they wish to select, which could be male, female, or indeterminate X.
But Chair, it's to do with the keeping of records that allow for gender diverse, transgender and sex people. There are Australian government guidelines that were introduced in 2013. And
no, but I'm wondering. I can't join in here without getting myself into some sort of trouble. But what is that? And I understand that. I understand that the guidelines. What would that allow me to do if I declared that my gender status was female? Does that allow me the freedom of movement? I mean, this is a serious question. I'm going to ask it. Can I go into the ladies' Lulu then, if I choose to, if I've declared myself a female within the organisation? Or if you're having a series of workshops about women's health, or I don't know, does that mean I'm automatically swept up in that to participate? I really am interested, because it's a question writ large away from here.
So, Senator, the information that we collect when an individual identifies is kept in our systems.
Yes.
But the way in which the person identifies with gender will be not something that is captured by us. That's a choice that the individual will make in the workplace.
Yep. So I've declared myself to be a woman in the Department of Aus Govt. I'll stop your time, Senator, and start it again at 12 minutes. So what does that mean? If you were to find me in the ladies' change rooms, I've declared myself to be a female, and I'm in the ladies' change rooms, is there am I insulated from any punitive action for that? I mean, we've got to confront this question at some stage, and I'm happy to start here.
I'm not sure exactly what you mean, Senator, by punitive action.
Well, I promise you, if you catch me in the ladies' change rooms, there'll be a response. The secretary will be notified, and I assume there'll be some punitive action.
Right.
But if I come round via HR and declare myself that my gender is as a female, self-declaration, no question, no need to support that. And what are the circumstances? I mean, these are challenges as these transitions happen, and I hear and understand the motive and the spirit with some of these changes, but I just want to know some answers to the practical questions of day to day.
So in the event that we had a staff member who was in the process of transitioning away...
No, I'm not transitioning. I've just come round to let you know. Self-declaration.
Yep.
You've got to accept my declaration. You'll mark me up as a woman. If you don't have the answer, just say so, because I don't really mean to paint you into a
Well,
corner.
it's hard for me to speculate, Senator, but I would say that we would accept the gender in the identification of the person that was identifying
Yes.
under that gender.
And all that goes with it. So my attention in the change rooms, shower rooms is fine. No punitive response from the organisation to manage that. I hate to do it to you, Mr Quinlivan, but I'm going to move along to you now. You've got me. I started with you Monday. Tuesday I made a declaration. And Wednesday I spent all my smoko breaks in the ladies' change room, in the shower room.
I think
Going about my business as women do.
I think on Thursday we're probably spending a fair bit of time with you trying to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
All right. But I'm happy to.
Before making any judgments about what the next steps might be.
I'm happy to wait until then, and I definitely don't want to make light anything that's light of the conversation. It's quite a serious subject.
Part of the guidelines, have you finished?
Yeah,
Chair?
I have. I'm sorry to intrude on that, but
well, part of the guidelines include developing training for frontline staff related to terminology, definitions and sensitivities associated with the intersex, transgender and or gender diverse communities.
okay.
And I respectfully say that your questioning there has not been sensitive to transgender and gender diverse communities.
Well, I'm happy to be guided on how I may have visited upon that complex question in any other way. I mean, it's pretty simple. I'm not being insensitive.
People who are transgender and gender diverse, it's their identity. And deserve to be treated respectfully, not to be having disrespectful questions asked in
I'm going
estatements.
to reject that, and that's your first line of defence for people in this space. I'm going to reject it, and it will not inhibit me pursuing questions to find out in these complex outcomes as a result of these things. So
be it on your head.
As you will. Be
it on your head. So
I will doze off tonight within a minute of head on pillow, Senator. This won't affect me. Go on, you have the call.
So, in terms of providing sort of clear and accessible information for staff who wish to access the, who wish to change their change their gender on your records, so you've got.
We have
ways of doing that?
Yes, we do, Senator. We have processes in place. So if there was somebody that wished to change rather than somebody who was coming into the organisation, we have strict procedures around how to do that, the evidence requirements for that, and also dedicated staff members who are responsible for that.
Right. And do you
are trained in
yes, and they undertake the training such as I was just referring to.
Yep.
And in terms of the agencies that come under the department, do you know as to whether they have implemented the guidelines as well?
Senator, I would have to take that on notice for all of the portfolio agencies.
Right. I mean, I'm asking agencies and departments sort of as many as I can get to in these estimates. But the reason for going this way is because the Attorney General's Department, I've been questioning them for the last couple of estimates about how well the guidelines have been implemented, given that they're meant to have been implemented almost 2 years ago now, and sadly haven't been able to get sufficient information. So I'm doing my own consultation. And in terms of your HR practices, how about the implementation of the guidelines with relation to the external facing parts of the department for clients, the community, and sort of data that you may keep in those circumstances?
Yeah, Senator, I'd have to take on notice specifics around data that we'd keep. I mean, ultimately, we're only going to be collecting that information if we have a need to collect it. And as I understand it, when we were working through the implementation, we looked at a range of parts of our organisation, not just the HR parts of the organisation, in order to obtain compliance. But I need to come back to you about the specifics.
Right. So, I mean, what outward-facing parts of the department are there? What sort of data would you be collecting? What circumstances would you be collecting data?
Well, I'm not aware off the top of my head of what that data would be. Yeah, we would be asking for gender, and I'd have to come back to you in relation to that.
As to whether all your forms are compliant with the guidelines?
I'm fairly confident they are, but that's advice I've been given, and I would need to come back to you on notice to confirm that.
Yep. And in terms of your the work that you do, where you've got programs or that cross with states and territories, is there any work that you've done in terms of working with states and territories to ensure that any joint projects and data that's collected for those is also compliant with the guidelines?
I'd have to take that on notice, although I would suggest that the states and territories will also have their own requirements to be compliant in relation to whatever this jurisdiction is set for that particular area.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr Mason.
Senator, can I just follow up with